Hipster glasses, hipster glasses. Good afternoon, Kaya, and anyone else who may be watching this video. I've been thinking lately about irony and hipsters and history and like liking things unironically and all of that. My brother Peter and I are like really into making fun of hipsters because we think that they're silly. I mean, I'm like not even super sure what it means to be a hipster, even though I've like thought about it a lot. The whole idea of being sort of like unenthusiastic about things, except for like really obscure things, but then if they're become mainstream, then you can't be into them. But also like being a hipster now is mainstream, so doesn't that make all hipsters sort of like not hipster anymore? But then doesn't that make the people who are making fun of hipsters because like now they're the ones mocking the mainstream because the hipsters have become mainstream? It's just, it's too much for me. I don't like it. Why don't we just be ourselves, like the things we like, ironically or unironically? And what does this word like ironically even mean? Like, how can you ironically like Don't Stop Believing? You either like it or you don't. And if you like it, you're not being ironic. You just like it because it's a fabulous fucking song. I just think it's dumb. You know, if you want to listen to Journey all day, then do it. You should feel a little bad about yourself, but not because you're not being a hipster. Just because that's a sad life. So I think that the definition of irony that hipsters latch on to the most is incongruity between the actual result of a sequence of events and the normal or expected result. I suppose that hipsters would say, it's expected that I would not like something like Don't Stop Believin' or Pabst Blue Ribbon beer because it's pretty shitty and mainstream, but I do. Therefore, it's ironic and hipster. I have found in my life recently that I have been most happy when I use irony to be funny or just to like observe my world. Like, for example, I really, really like Jane Austen. Oh no! Her tiny Pride and Prejudice fell off her hand. I really, really like Jane Austen, and I just like her because she's awesome. Like, I have no ulterior motive for liking Jane Austen. Speaking of Jane Austen, she was ironic as fuck all the time. She was so sarcastic. Oh my god, Pride and Prejudice. Stop being a dick. Pride and Prejudice is wonderful. It's never a dick. I want to end this video with a story about irony from history. So a couple of years ago, I read this book by Nathaniel Philbrick, and it was called The Heart of the Sea, The Tragedy of the Whale Ship Essex. It has one of the best stories in it, like the best examples of irony ever. And whenever I'm kind of like talking about irony with someone, I always bring up this story because it's great. And then people are like, that's a scary story and I don't want you to tell it again, but I'm going to tell it to you. So in 1820, a whale ship set out from Nantucket, Massachusetts, to go hunt some whales, as whale ships do. Big long journey. They're in the Pacific Ocean. They were doing their thing. They're hunting some whales. When they get attacked by a whale, by a giant, giant sperm whale. It's unclear to historians whether the whale attacked them unprovoked, as in sort of like revenge for its fellow, you know, whales getting slaughtered mercilessly. I like to believe that that is the case, but it's also possible that the whale accidentally bumped into the ship, got mad, and decided, like, fuck that thing, I'm taking it down. Either way, the whale hit the ship once, sort of like knocking it around, then swam away a ways, turned around, and came back and hit it for a second time, just friggin' just smashing it. The boat sank extremely quickly. The crew of the ship scrambled onto their whale boats, the little boats they used to go out and harpoon whales, and were in for the long haul at that point. The captain knows that there are some islands fairly nearby. Cannot remember what they're called off the top of my head, and I feel bad about that. But also, I'm just gonna keep telling the story. And he says, let's go there. And the first mate actually overrules him. He overrules him. He says, no, we cannot go to these islands because there are cannibals there. There were not cannibals there. it's pretty bad. They don't really have a lot to eat. They resort to dangling the corpses of their fellow shipmates off the side of the ship to get fish. They had eaten all the tortoises they got at the Galapagos Islands. They're really shit out of luck. They have nothing left to eat. They're literally starving to death. They end up eating each other. They end up drawing straws and shooting one of them, who was like a lesser officer, who the captain had been charged by his mother, by this young man's mother, to take care of. But instead he shoots him and eats him because he lost the straw draw. I don't know. I mean, the captain went back to Nantucket and was like, so you know that boy that you said that I should take care of? I ate him. That's irony! They didn't go to these islands because they thought there were cannibals on them, but because of that, they ended up eating each other. It's so brilliant. So that's the story of the whale ship Essex. If you want to know more about it, some more specifics, and you know, maybe I might have gotten some things wrong, so please tell me if I got some things wrong. I highly recommend you read this book. Obviously it's not an end-all be-all, because history is really difficult in that it's not usually, it's always told from a perspective, so also keep in mind that this is my perspective, and Nathaniel Philbrick has his own perspective, and he's using documents of people who had their own perspectives, so, you know, super interesting. Those are my thoughts on irony and hipsterism and cannibalism. Hipster glasses. When I first got them, I like to say that they were nerdster because they kind of are like a mixture between hipster and nerd. Nerdster. I think I just invented a new wordster. I'm sorry, I'll stop.